sound. "The king is dead. Long live the king," said Nikki with a sigh. "What about her personal life? We must have missed something. Surely a wealthy, striking beauty of 35 would have men clamouring around her 24/7. No intense boyfriends, no jealous lovers. There has to be." Joseph puffed out his cheeks. "None that we can find. The only man she ever sees when she comes to England has an alibi solid enough to build a house on. And he is Lawrence Carpenter, 56 years old, divorced, family friend, retired early after making a considerable amount of money in the agrochemical industry. I interviewed him myself, and he was devastated to hear of Magda's death. I could be wrong, but if he was faking it, I'd be very surprised." Nikki made a grunting sound. "Well, what about the method? Does it point to a particular kind of killer?" "Yes," said Joseph emphatically. "A damned efficient one. A single close-range shot to the temple from a gun equipped with a silencer. A professional? No question. I think I'd like to see the crime scene." "How about after you've met with the fire investigator?" "It's still closed up, much to the chagrin of the rental company." "I bet. What do they charge for these swanky exec pads?" $4,000 a month." "What? You're kidding me?" "You wait until you see it." Joseph grinned. "It's like nothing I've ever seen." "But here in Greenborough, that's a London price." "Actually, we are considered to be at the heart of British agriculture. It's a short jump across from Holland to the port of Greenborough in a fast cruiser, and executive jets and helicopters fly in regularly to the Green Fen airstrip. Some of the bigger companies are realising that we are in a pretty good position to base some of their corporate management personnel, or so the property rental people tell me." "How the other half lives," muttered Nikki. She glanced at the clock. "Time to go and face the troops. Are you okay with this? I could talk to them if you like." Nikki smiled at him. "I'm not quite sure what I'd do without you, Joseph, but this one is entirely down to me." The room was full to bursting. Officers sat, stood, and gathered in the open doorway. As Nikki entered, she felt almost smothered by an atmosphere of apprehension, compassion, and discomfort, in equal measures. For a moment she wondered if she had the courage to go through with it, but then she saw the face of WPC Yvonne Collins. The older woman officer gave her an imperceptible nod and a warm smile. She looked around and saw the familiar faces of her team, Joseph, DC Cat Cullen, and DC Dave Harris. They were her colleagues and her friends. If she was hurting, then they were too. For once, she didn't have to stop the usual banter, because there wasn't any. "Thank you all for coming. I won't keep you long." She hoped there was no tremor in her voice. "As you are all aware, my daughter Hannah died 3 weeks ago. I've been offered extended leave but have refused to take it. As far as I know, there are no hard and fast rules on how to cope with grief, so—" She raised her hands, palms out. "I can only do what I think is right for me." She looked at them earnestly. "I want to make sure that none of you feel awkward or uncomfortable, so I'm saying this to all of you." She took a deep breath. "I am warmed by your messages of condolence, and I truly appreciate them. For that I thank you. But now, I am back at work, and it will be business as usual. No tiptoeing around my sensibilities, we all have a job to do, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't think I could do it." She paused for a moment, savouring the collective silent sigh of relief. "I don't care if you think I'm an hard-ass cow. But if you do think that, then you're wrong. I'm just going to be coping in the only way I know how." She swallowed. "That's all." She took a step back and exhaled, then saw Dave Harris slowly stand up, raise his hands, and begin to clap. It was hard to hold back the tears when the whole room was on their feet and joining Dave in applause. But somehow she managed to hold it together until they had filed out of the room. "Hellfire!" She slumped down into a chair and passed a hand across her eyes. "It's done now, Nikki." Superintendent Rick Bainbridge made his way toward her. "I admit to being circumspect, but on reflection it was the right thing to do." "Thank you, sir." She took out a tissue and wiped an escaping tear from her eye. She and Rick went back a long way. This was his last month on the force before retiring, and Nikki decided that whoever copped the post when he left would find themselves trying to fill some very big boots. He waited until they were alone, then he sat down next to her. Nikki noticed that he winced as he did so. She took in the thick, grizzled grey hair and familiar, craggy face, and hoped that whatever was ailing him would allow him a good and active retirement.